Coming up at 8 o'clock on this week's Scenic Stops, we'll introduce you to some folks at a very unconventional convention in Sandusky that is just a little bit out of the ordinary. We're going to find out what their fascination is all about. We'll also talk with the legendary coach Lou Holtz and hear his 3 rules to live by. And then we'll wrap things up with a man whose business is all about making a big bang and hear about how it got him into the movies. Stay right there. Scenic Stops is coming up next. Hello and welcome to Scenic Stops. I'm Kathleen Phipps. We really have a great show lined up for you tonight. We're going to meet some very interesting people with a very different hobby. In Sandusky, we meet the die-hard fans of the Japanese art form known as anime. Then we visit with a man who has a passion for blowing things up. And then for the football fans out there, we're going to talk to the legendary coach Lou Holtz. But first up, I'm here in downtown Lima, Ohio in the town square. Now, Lima was founded in 1831. It does have a rich history that is based in the early days of oil refining when Standard Oil built a refinery here. Today, it's owned by Husky Energy. Now, this community also has a long tradition in the railway industry, which continues today. And also here is the Lima Army Tank Plant. It is now the Joint Systems Manufacturing Center, and it is the sole producer of the M1A1 tanks, which are still used extensively in today's military efforts. Now, another town that has a rich history is Perrysburg, Ohio, a town that played a very pivotal role in the War of 1812. One of the major turning points in that war was actually played out at Fort Meigs. Let's go now and visit the reconstructed fort and learn about the significance of this landmark.
Well, Fort Meigs was constructed during the War of 1812, starting in February of 1813. It was a massive installation. And to me, it's pretty amazing that they managed to build this in just 3 short months by hand. So between February and April of 1813, they constructed this large fortification that we have reconstructed now.
Biggest wooden walled fort in the United States. It's 10 acres. And actually put 8 football fields inside this fort. The soldiers first got here and started cutting down the trees to build the fort. All they had was a blanket to try to stay warm. And this is in February of 1813. It was cold. Now, from February to the late April, early May, this is what they got done. 7 blockhouses and all the pickets. When the weather got warm, all that dirt turned to mud. So on a good day, it was up to your shoe bottoms. On a bad day, it was up to your knees. You had 6 men sleeping in a tent. You're eating bad food and drinking bad water. And so we had more people die here of sickness and disease than were actually killed by the British and the Indians.
It's built for several reasons. Number one, it was built to amass enough men and supplies so that General Harrison's Army of the Northwest could hopefully attempt a winter invasion into Canada in early 1813, so like February, March of 1813. When that failed to happen, then things shifted, and what they said was, now what we want you to do is build the fort and maintain it and man it, but it's going to act as a defensive checkpoint. So it's going to stop the British from any further invasions into Ohio. And just as importantly, you're going to protect Commodore Perry over there when he's building the fleet. And then also it protected the strategic Maumee River. Since America did not control Lake Erie at that time, they were floating a lot of men and supplies through the river system up the western side of the state and then down the Maumee. So it protects the lifeline that's moving men and supplies and materials up to the front lines here in Ohio. Really what makes Fort Meigs significant is the fact that this is the turning point in the war. It's these 2 successful defenses of Fort Meigs that usher in a series of American victories. Prior to Fort Meigs, it was almost nothing but American defeats. The man who built Fort Meigs, who laid it out, was an engineer by the name of Captain Eleazar Darby Wood. And Wood is a rock star in 1812, if you ask me. He's a West Point graduate. When he graduates from West Point in 1806, he helps create some of the defensive works in New York City's harbor and along the East Coast. Then comes out here early in the war, builds Fort Meigs, also designs Fort Stevenson, fights and mans an artillery battery during the first siege of Fort Meigs. And here's the other cool part. His general out in the Niagara Peninsula is so impressed with him, the general pays out of his own pocket to have a monument erected at West Point, Fort Wood. Wood County, Ohio is named after Wood. And then also, they name a fort out on an island called Fort Wood. And later on, when America gets the Statue of Liberty and they need a place to put it, Fort Wood had been abandoned and they filled that in. And so Fort Wood is the base of the Statue of Liberty. And it all comes right back here at Fort Meigs. And of course, we have William Henry Harrison that fought here. We have Richard Johnson, who later became Vice President of the United States. Harrison, of course, became President. Shortest serving president, but still nonetheless, he was here as well. Robert Lucas was here too, who later became governor of Ohio and then moved out to Iowa and became part of he became the first territorial governor of Iowa as well. So we have a lot of movers and shakers that were right here at Fort Meigs. The reconstructed fort itself is open April through October. So with your admission price, you get to come in and see the fort, see the 4 blockhouse exhibits. To me, the highlight, and I think a lot of people will tell you this though, is getting to see that soldier dressed up in his uniform, answering questions, having a musket demonstration as well.
This is a Charleville musket, the workhorse of the American Army during the War of 1812. Now, when you're loading the weapon, you have to have at least 4 teeth to be in the military. 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom, and they had to meet somewhere in the middle. So you could do that. And I'm going to pour a little bit of that priming powder into the pan. Cast the musket about, and pour the rest of the powder down the barrel. Draw my ramrod, ram it down home. Put the ramrod back, makes a great arrow. Then I only get to fire my musket once. My musket's now ready. I'm expected to fire this weapon 3 times every minute, so that's once every 20 seconds. I'm going to train 4 hours every single day to get up to that speed.
And then we have a 3,000 square foot museum too. And we probably have 80 to 90% of the artifacts that the Ohio Historical Society has related to the War of 1812. And out of that, I would say 60 or 70% actually came right here from Fort Meigs. So you get to come out and see the real deal. The artifacts were actually found right here from the soldiers at Fort Meigs. And with this being the bicentennial year, starting now and then our 200th anniversary in 2013, we're going to have lots of new exhibits and new programs specifically related to our 200th birthday here at Fort Meigs.
Some communities across Canada and the U.S. are planning to observe the bicentennial of the War of 1812 to honor the 200 years of peace between Canada, Great Britain, and the U.S. Fort Meigs is following suit, and they're planning several programs to mark the grand occasion, from lectures and conferences to reenactments and some musical events. You want to check out their website for more information on the bicentennial celebrations. Now stay right there, because coming up next we have an interview with a legendary coach turned motivational speaker and a television host. You don't want to miss it right after this. Now our next visit on Scenic Stops is not an historic place, but it is with an historic person, the legendary coach, Mr. Lou Holtz. Now Holtz grew up in East Liverpool, Ohio, and he attended Kent State University. His coaching career spanned more than 40 years, where he led and inspired many young men on the playing fields and in the locker rooms. But that was just the beginning. Holtz has gone on to become an accomplished author, a motivational speaker, and a broadcaster for CBS and ESPN. WBGU-TV's Melissa Andrews had a chance to talk with him recently about his life experiences, his joys, and to find out his 3 rules to live by.
We are so excited to bring you legendary college football coach and broadcaster. He was also an NFL coach, Lou Holtz, here in Bowling Green for our viewing pleasure today. Thank you, Lou, for joining us for a few minutes.
Thank you for having me.
So we always see you during the college football season, every Saturday on ESPN, and throughout the week, various times. What do you do in the off season?
Well, I do a little bit of everything. I speak to major corporations. I work on our foundation. I try to spend some time with my family. I try to stay busy. At my age, my birthday candles cost more than the cake, so I think it's important that I keep my mind active as well. Somebody at the airport said to me, "Do you ever go anywhere where people don't recognize you?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Where's that?" I said, "Home." When I go home, nobody recognizes because I'm on the road too much, but I need to slow down.
I can certainly understand that. So why do you think it is that so many former coaches and players go into broadcasting?
I think it gives you something to do, but I wasn't going to do it. I mean, I was retired, and all of a sudden ESPN said, "Hey, come up here on Saturday and just do one day for us, ESPN2." I got a lisp, I'm old, so I'm not going to do it, but one day, that's okay. That was 8 years ago, and we've been together as a team, and they keep you awful busy, but that's how it happened. I wasn't my intention to do TV, but I think a lot of coaches like to do it because you stay active in the game. It's very interesting as well.
And you're passionate about it, so you certainly have a lot of knowledge and a lot to say.
But I think what's really important is to have fun with whatever you're doing. If you have fun doing something, people have fun watching. If it's a chore for you to do that, so whatever I do, whether I'm coaching, whether I'm speaking, whether I'm doing TV, I am going to have fun with what I'm doing.
So what was your finest moment as a coach?
I think the finest thing that I've enjoyed more than anything is the relationship with the players. I always told the players this, "Gentlemen, you give me everything you have for 4 years, and I'll be there to help you for the next 40. Thank goodness 40 years are almost up.
That's such a nice thing to say, though.
But they remember.
So what do you think, though, seeing all of the turmoil that so many colleges are going through with Penn State, Ohio State recently? Obviously, a lot of these coaches did have relationships with their players, and sometimes that comes back to bite them.
No, not necessarily. Not if they violate 3 rules. We have federal laws, state laws, county laws, corporate laws, bylaws, in-laws, and outlaws. We don't need a lot of laws. We've got too many laws. We only need 3 laws. Law number 1, do right. It's not right to go out on a motorcycle with some 28-year-old girl if you're married. It's not right to give an athlete something that he's not allowed to do. Just do the right thing. Rule number 2, do everything to the best of your ability. Rule number 3, make sure that everybody on the team cares about one another. It's how I raised our children and what we did. Let me tell you how those 3 rules came up. I go from Ohio State, I'm coaching under Woody Hayes, winning the national championship, to William and Mary. We had more Marys than we had Williams. And we played a difficult schedule. And I'm going to be another Woody Hayes, and the first year was a disaster. And I sat down after that year. Why? Why did we win at Ohio State and other places? What were they special about these athletes? Coaches, teachers, business people. What is it about people that just seem to succeed? And then I compiled a list of people that failed in every way possible. Now, what was the difference? Ethnic background? Absolutely not. All type of ethnic backgrounds on both groups. Sex, male, female? No. Intelligence level? No. Height, weight, age, nothing. There were only 3 differences. The group that succeeded, you could trust them. They were committed to excellence. They cared about other people. In this group here, you couldn't trust them. They never really cared about being the best they could be, and they cut every corner. It's the only 3 differences. That's how I came up with the 3 rules, and that was, 40 years ago or something. I've tried to live by them and tried to preach them. As I said, at the statue at Notre Dame is not important. The pedestal is. On the pedestal, there's 3 words: trust, commitment, love. That's what our players have taken away from our association. Those 3 rules will help you long after football days are over.
Well, thank you so much, Lou Holtz. We certainly appreciate you taking your time, and the best of luck to you. We look forward to watching you every Saturday again. All right, that's it with Lou Holtz. Thanks so much for watching.
Let's see. Do right, do the best of your ability, and care about one another. Sounds like pretty good advice to me. Well, recently Lou Holtz was honored with an honorary Doctor of Laws degree from the University of Notre Dame, and he was inducted into the Cotton Bowl Hall of Fame in April of 2012. Well, are you ready for something totally unusual? I'm here at Alter Ego Comics in Lima, Ohio. It's just down the street from the square. It's this great little comic book shop. Let's go on in and check it out inside. I'll be back. I remember reading comics when I was little and watching cartoons too. One of my favorites was Bugs Bunny and the entire cast of Looney Tunes. But today there is one form of cartooning that is immensely popular all over the world. The Japanese art form known as anime. Now the word anime is a term that means animation, and it began in Japan in 1960, but it gained popularity outside of Japan in 1980. Most recently, the Pokemon craze. Well, anime enthusiasts are an enthusiastic bunch. We meet up with them at an unconventional convention in Sandusky. Check it out.
Mario.
I'm Donnell. We're at Colossal Con, which is Ohio's second largest anime convention in Sandusky, Ohio. Our very first year we had 300 attendees, and now we're in our 11th year and it's grown to be over 5,000 attendees. Anime is interesting because it's cartoons that are geared for all ages, and they deal with a wider variety of topics.
My name is Aaron Morris. People know me around here as Fiddler Tiki or Violin Sebastian. I'm here just to enjoy the con, but also to play the violin for everyone. It's kind of cool that I'm also friends with all the other quirky fans like that, because like Vincent or Shy Guy I know, and like there's just all the con people around here I'm just buddies with.
What differentiates this fandom from others is we have costumers who are very dedicated to the craft. They dedicate their entire lives and income, honestly, to creating the best costumes they can.
The free pasta I get, this is so good. But joking aside, it's just the atmosphere really of what you described. Everyone's here to have a good time in our costumes.
You get to dress up like you normally never do, and no one really judges you here.
When we're not dressed up like anime characters, we make more stuff to dress up like anime characters. Yeah. She's our seamstress.
I get to go out, dress up as one of my favorite characters from one of my favorite TV shows.
Cosplay is showing the author that you appreciate the characters.
When everyone has a common interest and you just put them in a giant hotel room together, then it's just like, oh, that looks so great, or oh, I know where that's from, and everyone's all excited and happy because we're just so like, you have an interest the same as mine and you're dressed up for it. It's fun.
We have a ninja sword class, and we also have a samurai sword class taught by a professional instructor. So he will give you practice swords while he uses the real thing.
My name's Samurai Dan. My wife Jillian and I are performers. We run a samurai martial arts school during the week, Monday through Thursday, but on weekends we travel and predominantly anime conventions, but also Ren fairs and colleges, and we do presentations on samurai arts, and we also do the odd comedy panel, and we do classes on basic swordsmanship and stage shows with bad jokes, sword combat, my wife basically beating the crap out of me for the amusement of others.
It's tremendous. We love the anime culture for the people, honestly, that populate it are some of the best people, tremendously artistic, they care about each other, and that's really something that the world needs more of.
If you don't come to these events, you're really missing out. This is your chance to let loose, be whoever you want to be, and no one's going to criticize you.
Follow your dreams and you'll end up where I am now.
Now, next up on our scenic tour, we'll take you from Sandusky to Old Fort, Ohio. We'll meet a man who gets a real kick out of his work, and his life's passion landed him on the silver screen. More Scenic Stops coming up next. I'm here outside the courthouse in Lima in Allen County, and on display here, well, it's kind of hard to miss. It's this large cannon that dates back to 1900. Well, our next guest knows a thing or two about cannons. That's right, Ohio resident Mr. C. Robert Gilmore grew up like many other young boys with a fascination to blow things up. Well, that led him to his life's work, creating a bang from his own foundry. Somewhere along the way, he and his cannons have ended up in the movies. Let's journey now to Old Fort, Ohio to talk to this unique cannon maker.
Fire in the hole. When I was a kid, I always liked blowing up stuff, and I started playing around with black powder and stuff when I was pretty small. I bought a foundry from one of my friends that made cannons. That's what got me started, because he made them for me. And then I just kept wanting more and more and bigger cannons, and then I ended up buying the foundry from him. And I just started experimenting. I had no idea, and I just started playing. That's when I still had a real job. And I did this in the evenings, and on the weekends I cast and started playing with it and, you know, learn the hands-on. I'm kind of a type of person. I don't like books very well. So I figured it out on the fly. Why we built the whole foundry here was I used to sell cannons, and most of your foundries now just cast everything horizontally. And that's why I started with this no-bake system, because you can make a solid mold that you can handle. And the way they did it back in the Revolution, French Indian War, was they cast everything vertical. When you pour it vertical, your bronze goes in, all your impurities will float to the top. Well, basic principle there, when we cast the bronze barrel, we pour right down the muzzle, it fills up, the impurities flow out, and as the metal fills that cavity, it packs the molecules. So where you need the strength in your cannons in the breech, where your pressure of your powder is floating to send a projectile out. So with doing that, it's cast solid where you got your strengths in the breech, and then we cut the deadhead off of it, and we take it over, and then we end up building a machine shop, because we like things done a certain way, so I ended up buying a bunch of tools and machinery. So we've started doing all of our own machining now. What I mainly specialize in is big bronze cannon barrels. This is a full-scale replica of a Revolutionary War 6-pounder. Full bore, full size. It's right around 700 pounds. This is a cannon. Okay? This is a gang mold. I've got 4 barrels in here. All right, we lay that in here, put the cope and the drag together. We would take the sand, silica sand, put it in the mixer. Then I take the resin and the hardener, mix it up, and then we dump it in here, and then we would ram that up. Once it sets up in about 20 minutes, you flip it over and you ram the other side. This is the finished product. See that? And then we put them together like that. And then we just stand it up, clamp it together, and I pour it right from the top. And then that fills all the barrels, 1, 2, 3, 4. It would go down, then it shoots off here, fills up each barrel vertical, and that's the principle of using the no-bait. We glue little letters on them. I do a lot of custom cannons for people if they want them for awards, for gifts, or whatever. We do them for the park services. Put and Base sells my cannons in their gift shop. So when I do a movie, I usually put the name of the movie on them. We sell them as gifts to the crew. So it works out really well. And then that mold I showed you just a minute ago that had the 3 barrels on it, well, this is a cannon right there, Old Betsy. It's not shined up, it's not bored, but it's ready to go to the lathe. I started doing, reenacting and started building cannon carriages and that. And then I started getting horses to start doing horse-drawn artillery, because I couldn't stop with just cannons, a little over-aggressive. And then I got, I just started doing little documentaries. The Confederate Yankee fire at the Johnson's Island Cemetery. We did a Tom Koba. He's passed away now, but he produced a couple small shows for, Johnson's Island. And well, then from there we went to bigger shows and bigger shows. I started working at Antietam, documentaries there, visitor center videos, Gettysburg, Antietam. Then Gods and Generals called, and I went to Gods and Generals up in my first big motion picture, and it just took off. They gave me a part one time to speak, and I don't like to memorize all that, because I'm usually getting stuff ready and shooting stuff and horses and all that, and then they want me to memorize lines. Well, that's not a priority. I never liked that very much. I can talk a lot, but I don't like to do lines and stuff. So I'd rather be in the background, because once they start doing a scene, if you're locked in, you're stuck. They move the cameras around you all day long doing the same scene. So I try not to get into that stuff. I like moving around all the time and don't like to be tied down where, you're locked into a certain spot when they start shooting a scene. So So I gave up my real job, and I just do this full time now. Make cannons, travel all over. Fire in the hole.
And that's all for this episode of Scenic Stops. Coming up next week, our tour takes us to a hidden private island on Lake Erie. We'll check out the National Threshers reunion in Wauseon, and we'll meet up with a glass artist at a studio near Toledo. And history buffs, you'll want to go to Maumee to visit the Wolcott Museum, and then to dance at Schützenfest Bavarian Polka Fest in Deschler. And boy, do they know how to have fun. Join us again next Thursday night. And remember, if you know of an interesting location or a person you'd like to see featured on the show, drop us a line to WBGU-feedback@bgsu.edu. If we use your story on an episode, we'll send you a Scenic Stops t-shirt. I'm Kathleen Phipps. Thanks again for joining us. And remember, the view is always nice from our Scenic Stops.